Hey everyone, welcome to Simplilearn's YouTube channel. In this session, we will have a quick coding interview preparation. But before we begin, let me tell you guys that we have daily updates on multiple technologies. If you're a tech geek in a continuous hunt for latest technological trends, then consider getting subscribed to our YouTube channel and don't forget to hit that bell icon to never miss an update from Simplilearn. Now, in this coding interview preparation, we will be covering all the important questions for a software developer and all those most frequently asked questions from the coding perspective. And followed by that, we will also be covering the most important and powerful programming language-based interview questions that include the Python interview questions, Java interview questions, and also the most fundamental and important C programming interview questions. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our coding interview preparation. Go to our training experts.
It's no secret that all of us get anxious before giving an interview. However, your confidence boosts up when you prepare for the interview well. Even the smartest job seeker needs to prepare well, so here we are to help you with that. Apart from your technical questions, many questions are asked which can make or break your future. These questions might seem easy, but they are not. And the answer to these can be tricky and do more harm than good. So the better prepared you are, the more successful your interview will be. This video will help you understand what an interviewer is looking for in your answers, teach you to answer interview questions, and convince the hiring manager that you are a good fit for the job. So first and foremost, before you step into the interview, make sure that you have carried out good research about the company. This will help you get an insight into what the company is all about and helps you answer better. Doing your research beforehand will also make a much better impression on the hiring manager. You can start by visiting the company's website. Have a look at their service, mission statement, and the company's culture. You can also glance through the company's social media accounts. Additionally, you could also use Google News to stay updated with the company's current situation. The next point is to keep in mind to ensure that your skills are aligned with the job description. It would be good if you understand what the employer is looking for. Think about examples from your work history and match them with the requirements. This will make it simpler for the employer to understand that you are a good fit for the applied job role. If in case you lack any of the required skills, you can mention that you are working on it and in no time you will master it. On the day of the interview, make sure that you are dressed professionally. Be comfortable in your attire, and it is advised that you look at the company's dress code policies. You can also choose a professional outfit like business casual, formals, and a comfortable pair of formal footwear. You need to look presentable. Our next tip is to have good body language. Body language is also another way of communication. When you walk into the interview room, confidently greet with a firm handshake and eye contact. While you take a seat, keep in mind to sit up straight. You must have good posture and not slouch. Speaking of gestures, try not to touch your face too much. Avoid a tense impression with your hands and keep your hands on your lap or the table. Hands on the table and a gentle lean will emphasize that you are listening carefully. Your body language should be very respectful. Be aware of your movements and stay calm through the course of the interview. Now, let me brief you on answering a few of the most frequently questions in an interview. Number 1. Tell me about yourself. This question is asked to gauge your confidence and communication skills. Here, you can speak about education, experience, and hobbies. Make sure to have a concise answer and answer with enthusiasm. 2. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Through this answer, the interviewer wishes to see how positive you think about yourself and if you can identify your weaknesses. Speaking about your strengths, there's no right or wrong. It can be about your flexibility, your attention to detail, and so on. However, speaking about your weaknesses, you don't have to be hard on yourself. You can reply with an answer like, your attention to detail trait can sometimes be a disadvantage, and you tend to spend more time. This way, your weakness still has a positive side. 3. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? This question can be a little tricky. Through this question, the interviewer is analyzing your commitment to the company. An ideal answer to this would be to tell how you wish to be a significantly higher position in the future and learn new things. 4. Why should we hire you? When answering this question, do not speak about how good your academics are. Instead, speak about how eager you are to learn, and hence the opportunity would be a good one to show your zeal. You can also touch upon a few qualities that they have that will be highly beneficial for this job. You can also list a few positive impacts you have made in the previous organization and how you can bring those here. 5. Finally, the interviewer might conclude by asking you if you have any questions for them. Always make sure to ask good and relevant questions. This displays the seriousness you have towards the job. Ask questions regarding opportunities for your professional development in the particular job role. It is important to know that this is for your personal growth. Based on this, you can decide if that particular job is a good choice for your career or not. These were a few of the commonly asked questions in an interview. Whenever you are asked a question, it is good to pause and think about it before responding. Make sure your answers are concise, to the point, and honest. If there comes a confusing question, do not hesitate to ask more clarification. Given the current scenario with the ongoing pandemic COVID-19, everything is digital. That applies to interviews as well. Many companies are currently taking virtual interviews for hiring purposes. A virtual interview takes place remotely over video conferences. In addition to the already discussed tips, let's have a look at a few more tips that can help you carry out your virtual interview smoothly. Firstly, have a good internet connection which can facilitate video conferences. It is advised that you are familiar with the platform on which that interview is carried out, like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, etc. By doing so, you won't have to be worried about the platform's technicalities on the day of the interview itself. Next, make sure that you are seated in a quiet place. Eliminate any potential interruptions on your end before the interview. Have a good set of microphones to have a clear audio quality. While talking, make sure to look into your computer's camera and not the screen. In case of any network issues and lags, make sure you politely ask the interviewer to repeat the question and politely repeat your answer if you are asked to. So that brings us to the end of this video on interview tips. I hope these tips are helpful to all you job seekers out there, and I wish you all the very best.
Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to Simplilearn's YouTube channel, and today we'll be discussing about the coding interview questions. We will begin this video with some conceptual questions about data structures, algorithms, and then move on to discussing the coding problems that are most commonly asked to solve in the interviews. These questions will help you summarize every important programming concept and serve as a perfect preparation resource for coding interviews. By the end of this video, I can assure you that you will have a proper understanding of data structure concepts and you will be able to code the most common problems asked in interviews. So, let's get started with an exciting video on coding interview questions. Before we begin, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell icon to never miss an update from Simplilearn. So I hope I was clear with the agenda. Now let's begin with the top 40 coding interview questions that you should know. Programming interview questions are an integral part of an interview for the developer's position. No matter which programming language you master, it is expected that you are familiar with the fundamental concepts of the programming. Coding skills are always the deciding factor in any programming interview. We will discuss the top 40 coding interview questions you should absolutely know how to crack in interviews to get your dream job. So without further ado, let's get started. So as discussed, the first part would be the conceptual interview questions. In that, the first question we have to face is, what is a data structure? So the answer for this question is, a data structure is a storage format that defines the way the data is stored, organized, and manipulated. Some popular data structures are arrays, trees, and graphs. Moving ahead, we have our next question, that is, what is an array? So basically, all the items that an array stores are of the same data type. It organizes data so that a related set of values can be easily sorted or searched. Now followed by an array, the next question we have is about the linked list. So what is a linked list? It is completely similar to array, but there are some basic differences. Like an array, a linked list is a linear data structure in which elements are not necessarily stored in a continuous manner. So linked list is basically a sequence of nodes where each node points to the next node, forming a chain-like structure. So followed by the linked list, we have the next question, which is based on stacks. So what exactly is a stack? Stack is a linear data structure that performs operations in a LIFO order. So in a stack, elements can only be accessed starting from the topmost to the bottom element. So followed by stacks, we have our next question, which is, what is a LIFO? So basically LIFO stands for last in, first out. So it is a way of accessing, storing, and retrieving data. The data that was stored at the last is extracted at the first. The next one after LIFO is a queue. So what exactly is a queue? Queue is a linear data structure that performs operations in a FIFO order. So basically FIFO is first in, first out. In a queue, the least recently added elements are removed first as opposite to the stack. So up next we have the FIFO. So what exactly is FIFO? FIFO stands for first in, first out. It is a way of accessing, storing and retrieving data. The data that was stored first is extracted first. The next question is about the binary trees. So what exactly are binary trees? A binary tree is an extension of linked list data structure where each node has two children. Binary tree has two nodes at all the times, a left node and a right node. So these left and right nodes for the top node are known as children of the top node. Next we have is recursion. So what is recursion? Recursion refers to a function calling itself based on a terminating condition. It uses last and first out functionality and therefore makes use of the stack data structure. Followed by recursion, we have the OOPS. So what is the OOPS concept? OOPS stands for Object-Oriented Programming System, a paradigm that provides concepts such as objects, classes, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, etc. So what are the concepts introduced in OOPS? So the following concepts are introduced in OOPS. They are object, class, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. Now we will discuss each one of them in a bit more detail. So we will begin with object. A real-world entity having a particular state and a behavior is called as an object. It can be defined as an instance of a class. So next we have the class. A logical entity that defines the blueprint from which an object can be created or instantiated is called as a class. So basically, class is a blueprint which we use to create an object. So followed by classes and objects, we have the inheritance, a concept that refers to an object acquiring all the properties and behaviors of a parent object is called as inheritance. So basically, inheritance provides code reusability. So followed by inheritance, the next important concept we have is the polymorphism. So polymorphism is a concept that allows the task to be performed in different ways. In Java, we use method overloading and method overriding to achieve polymorphism. Followed by polymorphism, we have the abstraction, a concept that hides the internal details of an application and shows only the functionality is called as abstraction. In Java, we use abstract classes and interface to achieve abstraction. The last one is the encapsulation. Encapsulation is a concept that refers to wrapping of code and data together into a single unit. So basically, every code we have in the Java will have data members and data manipulating methods. So encapsulation is a basic concept that brings them together and binds them as a single unit. So followed by OOPS concepts, the next important question that we will be facing is about the binary search tree. So explain binary search tree. A binary search tree stores data in such a way that it can be retrieved very efficiently. Next, the left subtree contains nodes whose keys are less than that of the node's key value. The right subtree contains nodes whose keys are greater than or equal to the node's key value. Followed by that, the next question we have is the doubly linked list. So what exactly are doubly linked lists? The doubly linked lists are special type of linked list in which traversal across the data elements can be done in both directions. This is made possible by having two links in which one of the node will be connected to the next upcoming node and the other link is connected to the previous node. So followed by the doubly linked list, the next important question we have is the graph. So what exactly is a graph? A graph is one type of data structure that contains a set of ordered pairs. So these ordered pairs are also referred as edges or arcs, and arcs are used to connect nodes where data can be stored or retrieved. So followed by this, we have our next question that is called as the difference between linear and non-linear data structures. So the first difference is the linear data structure in which data elements are adjacent to each other, and the non-linear data structure is a structure in which each element can connect to two adjacent data elements. Followed by that, the next difference is examples of linear data structure are the arrays, linked lists, stacks, and others like queues, and examples for non-linear data structures are trees and graphs. Followed by that, the next question is what is a DQ? So a DQ is a double-ended queue, and this is a structure in which elements can be inserted or removed from either end. Followed by that, we have our next question, which says the difference between the stack and an array. So stack follows a LIFO pattern. It means that the data access follows a sequence in which the last data to be stored is the first element to be extracted. Next, we have the array. Arrays, on the other hand, do not follow a particular order and instead can be accessed by referring the indexed element within the array. Followed by that, the next question is which sorting algorithm is the best? There are many types of sorting algorithms like quicksort, bubble sort, balloon sort, radix sort, merge sort, etc. And no algorithm can be considered as the best or the fastest because each is designed for a specific type of data structure where it performs the best. And our 19th question is, how does variable declaration affect memory? So the amount of memory can be allocated or reserved depends on the data type being stored in that variable. For example, if a variable is declared to be integer type, then 32 bits of memory storage will be reserved for that variable. So the 28th question is, what are dynamic data structures? So dynamic data structures are the data structures that expand and contract as the program runs. It provides a flexible means of manipulating data because it can adjust according to the size of the data. So these were the conceptual based questions so far we discussed now. Next, we will move ahead into the programming interview questions. So at first we have, how do you reverse a string in Java? So you can see on my screen we have a code segment that is capable of reversing a string. So basically you declare a string, then take the length of that string, loop through the characters of the string and add these characters in the reverse order, then print the resultant string. Next we have, how do you determine if a string is a palindrome or not? So for that particular question we have a code segment which is capable to reverse the string and check if it is a palindrome or not and accordingly provide the result. So a string is a palindrome when it stays the same on the reversing order of characters in that string. It is achieved by reversing the original string first and then checking if the reverse string is equal to the original string or not. Followed by that we have the 23rd question that says find the number of occurrences of a string character in a string. So the following code segment is capable to find that particular task and to find the number of occurrences of loop through the string and search for that character in every iteration. Whenever it is found, then the count will be updated. Followed by that, the 24th question is find if the given two strings are anagrams or not. Two strings are considered as anagrams if they contain similar group of characters in varied sequence. So for finding out if two strings are anagrams or not, we have the code segment on the right part of my screen right now. So basically you declare a boolean value that tells the end of the two strings are anagrams or not. Then first check the length of the both strings if they are same or not. Then if they are not same, then they are not anagrams. If they are same, then they are anagrams. Like there might be a chance of being the two strings as anagrams. And followed by the next step is convert both the strings to character arrays, then sort them out. And finally check the sorted arrays if they are equal or not. If they are equal, then print their anagrams, and if they are not equal, then you should print not anagrams. The next 25th question is how do you calculate the number of vowels and consonants in a string? So you can see on my screen I have a code segment which will be capable of counting vowels and consonants in a string. So loop through the string, so that's the first step. Followed by that, increase the vowel variable by 1 whenever the character can be found as a vowel using the if condition, otherwise increment the consonant variable. Finally, print the values of both the vowels and consonants count. The next important question we will be facing in the coding interview is how do you get matching elements in an integer array? So for that we have a code segment on my screen right away. Now the steps for that are declare an array, nest a couple of loops and compare the numbers with the other numbers in the array, and finally print the matching elements whenever found. So next we have this 27th question that says code bubble sort algorithm. You don't have to code the entire bubble sort algorithm. What you can do is just write the code segment which has a logic for it. So that is currently on my screen right now. So what you basically do is declare an array. So next what you do is nest a couple of loops and compare the numbers in that array, and then the array will be sorted in the ascending order by replacing the elements if found in any other order. 28th question is code the insertion sort algorithm. So this is completely similar approach. What we followed for the bubble sort, you just have to write the code segment of logic. So the steps will be, first the element in the array is assumed to be sorted. Take the second element and then store it separately in key. Now the first two elements are like sorted. Take the third element and then compare it with the elements in the left of it. The process goes on until the array is sorted. So next we have the 29th question. How do you reverse an array? So you can see on my screen we have a code segment that says how to reverse an array. Loop till the half length of the array. Next we have to replace the numbers corresponding to the indexes from the starting to the end. Followed by that we have the 30th question where we have to find a way to swap two numbers without the third variable. So this type of interview question will be asked most number of times to the beginners, most frequently. Now the solution for that has been written on my screen right away. You can check out that. And the steps to be followed are: declare two variables and initialize them with the values. Make b the sum of both the numbers. Then subtract the sum, that is the b, from a. So a is now swapped. Lastly, subtract a from the sum b. So b is now also swapped. Next we have the 31st question, which says print a Fibonacci series using recursion. So for that we have a code segment which can print a Fibonacci series on my screen right now. So the code on my screen can be used to print the Fibonacci series. So basically, what are Fibonacci numbers? So the Fibonacci numbers are the numbers in the following integer sequence: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21 and so on. They can be calculated using the mathematical formula used in the Fibonacci recursive function. The next question you'll be facing is, how do you find the factorial of an integer? So we have the code segment on my screen which can perform the factorial of an integer operation. So the factorial is a function that multiplies a number by every number below it. For example, factorial of 5 is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, which is equals to 120. So recursive function multiplies the number until it reaches 1. The next one is, how do you reverse a linked list? So for that we have the code segment on my screen right away. You can please check it out and try it, so if you can find out if it can reverse a linked list or not. So the steps to be done for that are: declare a linked list first, then add elements to that linked list, apply the descending iterator method to the linked list, and then this should reverse the order of the elements in the linked list. The 34th question is, how do you implement a binary search? So for that we have the code segment right on my screen. You can check that out, and the steps to be followed are mentioned in the code segment. So the binary search divides the array into half in every iteration step until it finds the element. It works on sorted arrays since it compares the values of adjacent elements and then calculates the middle number. If the value of low becomes greater than high at any point, it means the element is not present in the list. So this is how the binary search basically works. Followed by that we have the 35th question, which says find the second largest number in the array. So you can see we have a code segment on my screen to find it out. So the steps to be followed are: loop through the array. If the value of I is greater than the highest, store the value of I in the highest, and store the value of highest in the second highest variable. So now let's move ahead to the 36th question. How do you remove all occurrences of a given character from the input string? So we have a simple small code segment on my screen right away. So that code segment can be used to remove all the occurrences of a given character from an input string. So what you can do is use the built-in string method, that is replace, to replace a character with any other character including symbols and white spaces. So followed by that we have our 37th question. So that is showcase inheritance with the help of a program. So we have a small code segment on my screen to showcase the one of the major object-oriented programming method, that is inheritance. So the class cat inherits the property color from class animal by extending the parent class animal. This way, a class cat can have more parent classes if it wishes to inherit their properties as well. So next question, that is the 38th question, is explain overloading and overriding with the help of a program. So this is a major question which is asked many number of times, most frequently for the beginners. And sometimes even the experienced candidates cannot escape this question. So first we'll discuss overloading. When a class has two or more methods with the same name, they are called as overloaded methods. So you can see a code segment on the right side part of my screen right away. So this is an example for overloading. Next we will discuss the overriding. So next we will discuss the overriding. So when a superclass method is also implemented in the child class, then it's a clear case of overriding. So on the right side part of my screen, you can see a code segment where a child class is extending the base class method, which is print name. Now followed by that, we have the 39th question. That is, check if the given number is prime or not. So you can see a code segment on my screen which determines if the given number is a prime number or not. So the steps to be followed to find if a given number is prime or not are: use if statements to check for each condition separately. If the number is 0 or 1, it cannot be prime. If the number is 2, it is prime. If the number is And finally, the third condition you need to take care of is if the number is indivisible by other numbers, then it is prime. So basically prime numbers are divisible by 1 or itself. If any other number is capable to divide the number, then it is not a prime number. Now the last question in the list is, how do you sum all the elements in an array? So for that we have a code segment right on my screen. Please check it and try to run it, and that's the best way to learn. So the steps to be followed are: use the loop to iterate through the array and keep adding the elements in that array. And finally, you'll get the sum of the elements in the array, and you can just print this sum at the last. So with that, as you prepare for your upcoming job interview, we hope these coding questions have provided more insight into what types of questions you are likely to be asked.
In this video session, we will understand some software developer interview questions that will help you in your interview preparation. In this tutorial, we will discuss a series of technical interview questions and HR interview questions for you so that you will get a better understanding of the approach. Also guys, if you want to become a full stack web developer, consider the full stack web developer mean stack course by Simplilearn and master those necessary skills. Check out the link in the description box for more details. Now before moving forward, let me ask you a quick question. So what was the name of the first computer virus? Option 1 is Trojan horse, option 2 is Christmas tree, option 3 is brain, option 4 is creeper. You guys can put your answers in the comment section below. Now before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update from Simplilearn. Introduction to software developer. So a software developer is a professional who designs, creates, tests and maintains software using various programming languages and technologies. Their roles and responsibilities can vary depending on the organization and project, but some common tasks of a software developer include writing code to create a software application, debugging and troubleshooting existing software, collaborating with other developers and stakeholders to define software requirements, participating in code reviews and ensuring the quality of the database, keeping up with date of new programming languages and technologies to improve. A software developer may also be responsible for project management, mentoring junior developers, or contributing to the broader strategy of the organization depending on the size of the company. So in this video, we will go through some software developer interview questions that will be useful to you and serve as a valuable resource for interview preparation. So let's go ahead and have a look at some technical interview questions. So what is a framework? So framework is a set of pre-written code and guidelines that provide a structure for developing software application. It is designed to ease the development process by providing a common set of tools and conventions for building and deploying applications. Frameworks can include libraries, modules, and APIs that can be used to perform common tasks such as input-output, database access, and user authentication. Examples of popular frameworks include Ruby on Rails, AngularJS, and Spring Framework. Now coming to the second question, which is, what is waterfall model and what are its use cases? So the waterfall model is a software development lifecycle model that describes a linear sequential approach to software development. The model is named after waterfall because it describes a process where progress flows in a downward or linear fashion through the phases of a project, much like a waterfall cascading down a mountain. Its use cases are small projects with well-defined requirements and clear scope, projects that have a clear end goal and deliverables, projects with clear set of deliverables and a defined timeline, projects that have a well-defined budget, projects that have a well-defined set of rules and regulations, projects that do not require much change or evolution over time. It is important to note that the waterfall model is not well suited for projects with rapidly changing or evolving requirements, projects that require multiple rounds of testing and revisions, or projects that require close collaboration between development and stakeholders. So this was waterfall model. Now moving on to the next question, that is, what are verification and validation? So verification is the process of making sure software reaches its goals without errors. It is the process of figuring out whether or not the product being generated is accurate. It establishes whether the end product compiles with the requirements and focuses primarily on the functionality. Now comes the validation. The process of determining whether a software product satisfies the necessary requirements is known as validation. It is a procedure of confirming product validation or confirming that the product we are developing is accurate. The quality of the program is the main focus of the validation. Now coming to the fourth question. So what do you mean by a software scope? So the scope of a software project refers to the defined boundaries and requirements for what the software will accomplish. It includes specific features, functions and deliverables that the software will provide, as well as the constraints or limitation on the projects. The scope helps to establish a clear understanding of the project's objectives and serves as a guide for project planning and execution. So this was the software scope. Now coming to the fifth question on our list. So how can you measure the project execution? We can measure the project execution through activity monitoring, status reports and milestone checklist. So now let's discuss these things. So activity monitoring. So this involves tracking the progress of specific tasks or activities within the project, such as coding, testing or documentation. This can be done using tools like task management software or project management software, which allow team members to update the status of their task and provide the visibility into the progress of the project as a whole. Then there is status reports. These are regular updates on the project's progress, including information on what has been completed, what is currently being worked on, and what issues or risks have been identified. Status reports can be shared with stakeholders, including the project manager, project sponsor, and the other team members. Then there is milestone checklist. So these are the list of specific deliverables or milestones that need to be completed in order for the project to be considered successful. This checklist includes all the activities that need to be done, who is responsible for them, and the deadline for the completion. This helps to ensure that all the critical tasks are completed on time and that the project stays on track. Moving on to the next question, which is, what are functional and non-functional requirements? Functional requirements are those that users expect from the proposed software product and are referred to as functional needs, whereas the non-functional requirements, on the other hand, are the how of the system, and they describe the quality characteristics or constraints of the system that must be met. These include things like performance, security, scalability, usability, and maintainability. Alright, moving on to the seventh question, which is, what is a spiral model? So the spiral model is a software development process model that combines elements of the waterfall model and the iterative model. It is also known as spiral lifecycle model. Spiral model is an evolutionary approach to software development that emphasizes risk management and incremental delivery of a software product. The model consists of a series of iterations, each one building on the previous one. So this was the spiral model. Next up we have, what are the disadvantages of a spiral model? So there are some disadvantages of a spiral model. For example, complexity, cost, time consuming. So let's understand those. Complexity. The spiral model is a complex model and requires a highly experienced team and good project management skills. It is not suitable for small or simple projects. Then cost. The spiral model can be expensive as it requires multiple iterations and evaluations, which can increase the overall cost of the project. Third is time consuming. So the spiral model can take a long time to complete as it involves multiple iterations and evaluations. This may not be suitable for projects with strict time constraints. Alright, so ninth question now is, what is agile software development model? So agile software development is a methodology for managing software development projects that emphasizes flexibility, collaboration, and customer satisfaction. The process is divided into small incremental releases called sprints, which typically last 2 to 4 weeks. Each sprint includes a planning phase, development phase, testing phase, and a review phase. Agile methodologies include Scrum, Kanban, and extreme programming. So this was about the agile software development model. Moving on to the 10th question on our list, that is, what is baseline? So in project management, a baseline refers to a set of agreed upon project's objectives, deliverables, and performance measurements that serve as a starting point for the project planning and execution. It is also used as a reference point to measure progress and performance throughout the journey of the project. A baseline is typically established early in the project planning process and includes project scope, schedule, and budget. Once established, these baselines are used as a point of comparison to measure progress and performance, identify variances, and make adjustments as needed. Next question is, what is black box testing and white box testing? So black box testing, also known as functional testing, is a method of testing software where the tester does not have access to the internal structure or code of the software. The tester is only aware of the inputs and outputs of the software, and test is based on its functionality and requirements. The tester does not need to know how the software works internally. This type of testing is often used to verify that the software functions are expected and meets the requirements specified by the customer. Now coming to the white box testing. White box testing is also known as structural testing. It is a method of testing software where the tester has access to the internal structure and code of the software. The tester is able to test the software at a deeper level and can test for things like code coverage, branch testing, and logic testing. This type of testing is often used to verify that the software is structurally sound and that the code is of high quality. Now coming to question number 12. What is quality assurance? So quality assurance is a process or set of procedure intended to ensure that a product or service meets a defined set of quality criteria or meet the requirements of the consumer. It is a process-driven approach to verify that a product or service being developed or provided is meeting the defined quality standards. This can include activities such as inspection, testing, and audits. The goal of quality assurance is to identify and mitigate issues before a product or service is delivered to the customer. So this was the quality assurance. Now comes, what is quality control? Alright, so quality control is a process of inspecting, testing, or auditing a product or service to ensure that it meets a defined set of quality criteria or customer requirements. It is a systematic and independent examination of the product or service to evaluate whether the relevant quality requirements are fulfilled. The quality control focuses on detecting and preventing the defects in a product rather than improving the overall quality of the product. It typically involves inspecting a sample of products to ensure that they meet the required standards and taking corrective action if necessary. So this was the quality control. Now coming to question number 14, which is, what are some different SDLC models? First is waterfall model, spiral model, incremental model, agile model, big bang model, and iterative model. So these are various SDLC models that you must know if you're preparing for software developer interview. Alright, now coming to question number 15. What is a use case diagram? So a use case diagram is a type of unified modeling language diagram that shows the interactions between actors and use cases in a system. Actors represent the external entities that interact with the system, such as users or other systems, while use cases represent the functionality provided by the system. The diagram illustrates the relationship between actors and use cases, such as which actors can perform which use cases. Use case diagrams are commonly used to model and communicate the requirements of a system to stakeholders. Alright, so these were some of the technical interview questions. Now let's understand some HR interview questions. So the question is, how do you stay current with new technologies and industry developments? So you can answer this question this way. I'm dedicated to staying current with new technologies and industry developments. I do this by regularly reading the industry publications, attending relevant conferences and networking events, following influencers and experts in my field on social media, and taking online courses to learn about new technologies. Additionally, I am always open to learning from my colleagues and actively seek out opportunities to expand my knowledge through mentoring, training, and professional development programs. So this is how you can answer this kind of questions. So if somebody asks you how do you stay current with new technologies and industry developments, this is how you have to answer the question. Alright, now moving on to the next question, which is how do you handle deadlines and pressure? So you can answer this type of question in this way. So I am able to handle deadlines and pressure by staying organized and prioritizing my task. I make sure to break down projects into smaller manageable tasks and create a plan to complete them on time. I also set intermediate deadlines for myself to ensure that I am making steady progress. When faced with pressure, I focus on staying calm and keeping my priorities in mind, and I communicate effectively with my team and stakeholders. I also make sure to take breaks and maintain a healthy work-life balance to stay refreshed and focused. So this is how you can answer this kind of a question. Now moving on to the question number 18. Can you tell us about a project you have led and the steps you took to ensure its success? So if you are being asked this question during an interview, you should provide a specific example of how you have used version control in your development process. First, we set up a central repository on GitHub where all the team members had access. Each member created their own branches for their specific task and pushed their code changes to those branches. Before merging any changes, we had a pull request process in place where any other team member could review the code changes and provide feedback. After the code was reviewed and any necessary changes were made, the changes were then merged into the main development branch. We also used Git tags to mark specific versions of the code, such as versions that were deployed to production. Additionally, we used Git's built-in diff and blame tools to track the changes and identify any bugs or issues that might create a problem. Thanks to the use of version control, we were able to collaborate effectively as a team. So this is how you will answer this kind of question. Alright guys, now moving on to the question number 19. So why do you want to work here? So when answering this question, why do you want to work here, it is important to do your research on the company first and company's values also. It includes values, missions, and culture. You must do the research on these things. Now tailor your response to show that you align with these values and are excited about the opportunity to contribute to the company's goals. Additionally, it's a good idea to mention specific aspects of the job or company that appeal to you and how your skills and experience make you a good fit for the role. Be sincere and enthusiastic in your response. So moving on to the next question, which is what is your greatest weakness as a software developer? When answering this question, what is your greatest weakness? It is important to be honest while also framing your answer in a specific way that shows that you are aware of the issue and actively working on to improve that. One strategy is to mention a specific skill or area that you are aware you need to improve on, and then explain the steps you are taking to do so, such as taking online courses or seeking feedback from colleagues. Another approach is to talk about a time when you faced a challenge in your work and how you overcame it. It is also important to note that it is better to be honest but also show that you are self-aware and proactive in addressing your areas for improvement. Alright, now question number 21 is what is your greatest strength? So when answering this question in an HR interview, it's important to be specific and provide examples to back up your answer. One approach is to identify a particular skill or technology that you must excel in and explain how you have used that strength to contribute to the past projects or teams. For example, you might say my greatest strength as a software developer is my ability to write highly efficient and optimized code. For example, in my previous role, I was able to significantly improve the performance of our application by identifying and addressing bottlenecks in the code. I also enjoy solving complex problems and coming up with innovative solutions. So this is how you can answer this kind of a question. Alright. Now question number 22 is tell me about your experience as a software developer. So it's important for this kind of question to focus on your relevant experience and skills, highlighting specific examples of projects and accomplishments. While answering this question, be concise, use specific examples, show technical skills, demonstrate problem solving skills, etc. That's it. Alright. Now, next question is, why do you want to work for a company? So here's an example for this kind of a question. I'm excited about the opportunity to work for your company because I believe it aligns with my values. I like its culture and mission, and I think I can help company to achieve its goals. I'm particularly interested in the company's innovative approach to a specific area, and I know that my skills and experience would be a great asset to the team. I'm confident that I can make a positive contribution to the company, and I'm eager to be a part of its future success. So in this way you can answer this kind of a question like, why do you want to work for our company? Alright. Now question number 24 on our list is, what do you like best about being a software developer? So when answering this question, what do you like best about being a software developer, it's important to be honest and authentic, but also to show that you have a passion for the field and that you are excited about the opportunity to work as a software developer. You can say a few things like the ability to solve problems, the teamwork aspect of the job, and the variety of the field, etc. Alright, next question on our list is, how do you handle difficult and challenging situations? So you can answer this question in this way. I have had several experiences handling difficult or challenging issues with customers in my previous customer service roles. One situation that stands out to me was when a customer was extremely angry and dissatisfied with the product. I knew that it was important to remain calm and professional, so I took a deep breath and actively listened to his or her concerns. I acknowledged the issue and apologized for the mistake. I then worked with my team to find a solution that satisfied the customer, such as offering a refund or a replacement product. I also made sure to follow up with the customer to ensure that issue had been resolved to their satisfaction. So this way you have to answer this kind of question. This is a bit tricky one, but you must answer this question this way. Alright, now coming to question number 26. So would you like to relocate to or travel for the company? When answering this question in an interview, it's important to be honest with your interviewer while also showing your flexibility and willingness to work for the company. A good response might be something like, I'm open to relocating or travel for the company if the opportunity arises. I understand the importance of being able to adapt to the needs of the business and am committed to being valuable asset to the team. So this is how you will answer this question. Now question number 27 on our list is, what are your expectations from a company? So a good response might be something like, I'm looking for the company that values professional growth, offers opportunities for advancement, and has a positive supportive work culture. I'm also looking for a company that is committed to making a meaningful impact in its industry. I'm excited about the opportunity to work for your company and believe that my skills and experiences align well with the company's missions and values. This shows that you have done your research on the company and you're a good fit for the company's culture. Now, coming to question number 28. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? So when answering this question in an interview, it's important to show that you are ambitious and have a clear vision for your future, while also being realistic and aligned with the company's goals. A good response might be something like, in 5 years, I see myself having an advanced within the company and taking on more responsibilities. I am committed to continuously developing my skills and knowledge, and I hope to be in a leadership role where I can use my experience and expertise to contribute to the company's growth and success. I'm excited about the opportunity to work for your company and see a long-term career path for myself here. Now coming to the second last question, which is question number 29. What skills do you think you need to develop to succeed in this job position? So when answering this question in an interview, it's important to show that you are aware of the skills required for the job and are willing to put in the effort to develop them. A good response might be something like, I believe that most important skill for this job are, here you can speak particular skill of yours, and I have experience and understanding in some of them, but I'm eager to develop my skills in so and so technology. Mention here some specific skills that you need to develop. I'm open to learning and training opportunities that the company provides to improve in these areas. So this is how you can answer this question. Alright, Now coming to the last question, which is, what inquiries do you have for me? So it's a common question that is being asked most of the time. There is no harm. You can ask questions about the company. The role you're applying for, you can ask, and any potential projects or responsibilities you would be working on. It is also a good opportunity to ask about the team you would be working with, the company's culture, and any opportunities for growth and development within the company.
C programming interview questions are a major part of every interview procedure. This video has covered all the basic interview questions and that every candidate is asked to check his or her knowledge in their programming skills. They have become essential to crack by every interview in the current IT industry. So please stick till the end of this video while we give away answers to that one important C programming questions that is the most frequently asked in every interview. Hey guys, welcome to Simplilearn. Today we will learn the top 40 C programming interview questions and answers. Before we start, let us test your existing knowledge of C. To use operations like malloc and calloc, which header file should be included? The options are stdio.h, stdlib.h, conio.h or string.h. Do leave your answers in the comment section below. And while we are at it, please leave us a like if you find our content helpful and a sub to the channel would be appreciated. Before we begin with this video is categorized into beginner level, intermediate level and advanced level questions. So without further delay, let's get started. The first question is, what are the features of the C programming language? C is a simple and portable. It is a mid-level language. It has the features of modularity. C is rich in library. It is a procedural language, easy to extend, and it consists of built-in operations. It also provides memory management. The next question is, mention different data types in C. Data types are classified into basic, derived and user-defined data types. Basic data types are int, char, float and double. Derived data types include array and pointers, and user-defined data types are enum, structure and unions. What is the use of static functions? Functions declared with the keyword static are the static functions. They have the scope restricted only to the functions in which they are declared. The next question is, mention the dynamic memory allocation functions. Dynamic memory allocation functions are malloc, calloc, realloc and free. When we use the malloc function, the contiguous block of memory will be allocated and the pointer variable will hold the address of the first element. Calloc function is similar to malloc function, but in the case of calloc function, multiple blocks of memory of the same size will be allocated, which holds 0 value by default. And it takes two arguments, that is number element and element size. We use realloc function to change the array size without losing the data. In short, the realloc functions will change the size of the previously allocated memory block. The free function is used to deallocate the memory space occupied by the previously allocated by malloc, calloc, realloc functions. In order to use the memory more efficiently and to return back the memory to the heap once done, we use free function. What is the difference between local variable and global variable? Variables declared inside the functions with the keyword local are called local variables. The local variable scope is inside the functions in which it is declared. Variables declared outside the functions with the keyword global are called global variables, and they can be accessed by multiple functions defined in the program. Moving ahead to the next question. What is the use of pointer variables in C programming, and what do you mean by dangling pointer variable? A pointer is a variable that holds the address of another variable to be executed, which can be of data type int, char, array, etc. Pointers are used to access the memory location easily, and it reduces the storage space and increases the speed of the program's execution. When a pointer pointing to another variable is deleted and a pointer is still pointing at the same memory location, then the pointer is known as a dangling pointer. The next question is, what is nested structure? Nested structures are the structures where data members of one structure is referred by the data members of another function. Next, what is the use of break control statements? Break is used to terminate the loop. So whenever the control encounters the break statement, it will stop the loop iteration and transfer the control to the next statement soon after the loop. Generally, break statements are used in the loop and switch control statements. And the next question is, what are C tokens? Tokens are the smallest individual elements in the program, which include keywords, identifiers, constants, special symbols, strings, and operations. What is predefined functions in C? Predefined functions are the built-in functions. It helps user to use already existing code in the program. What is the use of printf and scanf function? Printf and scanf are inbuilt library functions defined in the standard input-output header file. Scanf is used to read the input from the user, and printf is used to print the output on console. The next question is, what is the use of header files in C? Header file contain the predefined library functions. Programs can make use of standard library functions by defining #include in the program. It reduces the number of code and complexity of the program. What is an array? Mention its different types. An array is a homogeneous collection of elements of the same data type. That means similar types of elements are stored under one name called an array name, and also the array of elements stored in consecutive block of memory. Types of array includes one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, and multi-dimensional array. Next, what is the use of const keyword? Using a const keyword, the value of a variable is constant throughout the program runtime. Constant values are unchangeable. Syntax include const variable name equal to value and semicolon at the end. What is a memory leak? When the memory is allocated dynamically and not deallocated even when the memory is no longer required, that leads to a memory leak. Now that your basic level questions are completed, let us go through a few intermediate level questions. Differentiate between call by value and call by reference. In call by value, we pass values by copying variables. In call by reference, we pass the address of the variable. In call by value, the memory location for formal and actual arguments are created separately. In the case of call by reference, the formal and actual arguments share the same memory location. Any changes made in copy of variables will not affect the value of a variable outside the function in call by value. Whereas in call by reference, any changes made in the variables will also affect the value of the variable outside the function. Moving on to the next question. What is the difference between a compiler and an interpreter? A compiler compiles the whole code at a time and displays all the errors, whereas the interpreter executes the program line by line and displays the error of every single line. What are the entry and exit loops in C? A loop in which the condition is checked first and then executes the statements is known as an entry loop. For example, a while loop is an entry loop. A loop in which the set of statements is executed first and then checks the given condition is known as an exit loop. For the example, do while loop is an exit loop. And the next question is, what is typecasting? Typecasting is a process of converting one data type to another data type. The conversion that is done automatically is known as implicit conversion. Next, mention 4 types of storage classes in C. 4 types of storage classes in C are automatic, register, static, and external. Next, what is the use of the size of operator in C? The size of operator is applied to the data types such as int, char, float, etc. to determine the exact size of a variable in bytes. What are the string handling functions in C? String handling functions are strlen, strcat, strcpy, and strcmp. strlen is used to find the string length. It will count the number of characters in a string and prints the output. Then, strcat is used to concat 2 strings, which means adding up 2 strings. strcpy is to copy a string to another. strcmp is to compare 2 strings.
And the next question is, write a C program to print the following pattern. So, now let's understand the working of the code. So, in this pattern program, we have 2 for loops. So, where the outer for loop indicates the number of rows and the inner for loop will indicate the number of columns. So here, it first checks the outer for loop condition, and if the condition is satisfied, the control will go to the inner for loop and print the value. That is, it prints the j value. And once the condition is false, the control will transfer back to the outer for loop and increment I by 1. And this process will repeat until all the number patterns are printed successfully. So now let's execute it. So as you can see the number here, this is the pattern where we are executing with the help of 2 for loops, that is, for I is equal to 1, I lesser or equal to n, so n value is 5 and then I plus plus, then coming to the inner for loop, j is equal to 1, j lesser or equal to I and j plus plus. So now moving on to the next pattern question, we have implement a program to print parameter star pattern. So in this parameter star pattern program, we have declared variables I, j and rows is equal to 5. So the number of rows that we are going to print is 5. So for I is equal to 0 to I less than 5, it's going to print the rows. And this for loop will print the blank spaces. So from j is equal to rows minus I, j greater to I, j minus minus. So this for loop is used to print the spaces in between the parameter star pattern. And coming to this for loop here, j is equal to 0, j lesser or equal to I, j plus plus, it will print this star. So let's run it. Okay, let's run it. So as you can see, the start pattern is formed. And the next question is, write a C code to swap two numbers without using third variable. So here we have the variables first and second. So first is initialized to value 1 and second is initialized to value 2. So print before swapping the values of first and second, and it will print the values of first and second initially. So initially the values of first and second is 1 and 2. Then coming to this statements, so here first is equal to first plus second. So suppose let's consider first is equal to, so the first value is 1. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Okay. So now the first value is holding, the first variable is holding the value 3. Then coming to the second, here second is equal to, now the value of first is 3. So 3 and minus the value of second is still 2. So let's give 2. So which is 3 minus 2 is 1. So now the variable second is holding new value, that is 1. Then first is equal to first minus second. So now what's the value of first? The new value is 3. So 3 minus, and what's the value of second? That is 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So now as you can see, initially the first was equal to 1, that is before swapping the value of where first is equal to 1 and second is equal to 2. Now after swapping, the value of first is equal to 2 and second is equal to 1. So that's what's happening here. So let's remove this. Hope it's clear. So now let's run it. So as you can see the screen, before swapping the value of first is equal to 1, second is equal to 2. So after swapping the value have exchanged. So first is equal to 2 and then second is equal to 1.
Moving on to the advanced level questions. First, what is a union? Union is a special data type that holds the element of different data types at the same memory location. The concept of structure and unions are the same. However, the only difference is in terms of storage space and the keyword. In union, memory is allocated once the variable is created, and the union variables are created to access and assign values of the union members in C. The next question is, what are enumeration? Enum is a user-defined data type consisting of an integral constant. In short, an enum is a keyword that allows a user-defined data types consisting set of integral constants. The syntax of enumeration is enum, enum name and list of constants, separated with the help of comma operator. And the next question is, what is a recursion? Recursion is a process of making a function call itself. In short, the user call function inside the same function. The next question is, what are macros in C? Macro in C is defined by the hash define directive. A macro is a name given to a piece of code, so whenever the compiler encounters a macro in a C program, it will replace it with a macro value. In the macro definition, the macro are not terminated by the semicolon. Syntax of a macro, hash define, macro name, followed by macro value. Example, hash define pi 3.14 and semicolon at the end. What are file operations in C? Creating a file, writing a file, reading a file, seek operation within a file, and truncating a file, and at last deleting a file. What are the difference between macros and functions? Macros are pre-processed, but functions are compiled. Using macros, execution speed is faster, and in the case of functions, the speed of execution is slower. The macro name is replaced by the macro value before compilation. Whereas in function, transfer of control takes place during the function call. Using macros, the length of the code increases. The code length is unaffected using the function.
The next question is sort an array using a quicksort algorithm. So as you can see the screen, we have a quicksort algorithm function declared where we have array of size 25 left and right variables. So coming to the main function, we have I, count and array. So using printf function, it will print enter the number of elements. So it will take the number of elements. That means suppose you want to sort 5 elements. So it will take that number and then it will take elements one by one using this for loop. Then it will call the quicksort algorithm. So when then this quicksort algorithm, the control will transfer to this function and we have array of size 25 left and right. So here we have the variables declared, that is I, j, pivot and temp variables. So if left hand side element is less than right hand side element, then left hand side element is assigned to pivot and then left is assigned to I and right element is assigned to j. So while I lesser than j, so while it checks the condition array of I lesser or equal to array of pivot and I is less than right, then increment I by 1. While array of j greater than array of pivot, then it will decrement j by 1. So if I is less than j, here we are using temp variable to swap. That means to shift the elements. So whatever is there in array of I is given to temp variable, whatever is then there in array of j is given to array of I, and whatever is there in the temp variable is assigned to array of j. Then now temp is not holding any value. So array of pivot is given to temp variable and array of j is assigned to array of pivot and temp is assigned to array of j. Then 2 times you are calling the quicksort algorithm. First time to sort the elements at the left hand side and then to sort the elements at the right hand side. And coming to this main function, then it will print all the sorted elements. So let's run it. So as you can see, enter the number of elements. So let's enter 5 and let's enter some random numbers. Okay. So the numbers that we entered was 1, 4, 32, 5 and 5. So sorted elements are 1, 4, 5, 5 and 32. So it has sorted all the elements successfully using quicksort algorithm. And the next question is implement a program to print the factorial of a given number using recursive method. So as you can see here, we have a main function in which we have declared the variable n and then enter a positive integer. So it will take the n value. Then it will print factorial of a given number and then call the fact function. So the control will transfer to this function where we have fact of int n. So if n is greater or equal to 1, only then it will perform a factorial method. So suppose here we are giving a positive integer, that n to be 3. Okay, suppose we are given 3. So n, that is 3, into fact of n minus 1, that is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. So again we are calling fact here, fact function. So what this basically do is 3 into 2. It will perform 3 into 2. So 3 2s are 6. So it will print 6. Factorial of 3 is 6. So let's check it. So enter a positive integer. Let's enter 3 and the value is 6. So similarly, if suppose the number is 5. 5 into fact of 5 minus 1, that is 4. So what it does is it will take 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So it will count all this and print the value. So let's check what's the factorial of 5. So let's enter 5 and see the factorial of number 5 is 120. I hope it's clear. And the next question is write a C code to find the Fibonacci series. So inside the main function, we have declared the variables n1, n2, n3, I, and num. So initially the n1 value is 0, n2 value is equal to 1. So first it will print enter the number of terms. So the number of terms that you need to find Fibonacci. So once you enter, it will take the num and it will print the initial value of n1 and n2. That is, it will print n1 is equal to 0 and n2 is equal to 1. Then coming to this for loop, I is equal to 2. So initially I is equal to 2 and then I lesser to num. So it will check whether 2 is less than num. So if it is true, then it will come and execute these statements. So n3 is equal to n1 plus n2. So suppose now we have the value of n1 and n2. So n3 is equal to n1 is 0 plus n2 is 1. So now the value of n3 is what? 1. Okay. So that will print as a n3. Then here it will, again we are going to change. So now we are assigning n2 value to n1. So what is n2 value? That is 1 is given to n1 is equal to 1. Then assigning n3 value to n2. What is n3 value now? That is 1. That is given to n2. Now n2 is also holding 1. So now once it print this value, again it will go to the for loop and increment I by 1. So once it's increment, that means once it increment by 1, that means now the I value will be 3. So again it will check whether 3 is less than num. So again this will continue the process till the I value is less than num. So let's execute it. So let's run the program. So enter the number of terms. So let's enter 5. And the Fibonacci series of 5 is 0, 1, 1, 2 and 3. And the next question is, write a program to check whether a given number is prime number. So in this program, inside the main function, we have the variables num, I and flag is equal to 0. So initially flag value is equal to 0. So as you all know that flag acts as a Boolean variable. So if the condition is satisfied, it will indicate true or false. So then it will print enter the number to check prime and it will take the number for condition I is equal to 2 till I lesser or equal to num divided by 2. Then checks the condition if num module I is equal to 0. This is the condition that it has to meet to check whether the number is prime or not. So if this condition satisfied, then it will print number is not prime and flag is equal to 1. Break. If flag is equal to 0, then print number is prime. So let's execute it. So enter the number to check prime. So if I enter 3, it will say number is prime. So now let's give another number which is not prime. Let's give 4 and we'll say number is not prime. So I hope this program is clear. The next question is how to implement a program to find the height of a binary tree. So as you can see on the screen, we have the structure of node, then we have a variable data and node's left child structure and right child structure. So we have a function called height to find the height, actual height of a binary tree. So if node is equal to null, that means if there are no nodes in a tree, then it will return 0. Else it will assign height of node's left child to L height, then assigning height of node's right child to R height. So then it checks the condition if L height is greater than R height, then return L height plus 1, else return R height plus 1. So to create new node, we are creating a new node called node and allocating memory to it using malloc function and assigning a data to node's data part. And initially the node's left child and right child are assigned to null. Then return the node. Coming to the int main, that is coming to the main function, we have structure of node, that is root, assigning value 10 to the root node, and root's left child is assigned to 15, root's right child is assigned to 20, and value 25 is assigned to root's left child's left child, and 30 is assigned to root's left child's right child. Then print height of a binary tree. then it will take the control will go back to this function height and then prints the value. So let's run it. So here height of a binary tree is 3. Moving on to the next question. Write a C code to find the n terms odd natural number and find their sum. So basically we are finding the odd numbers first. Then we are adding up all the odd numbers and printing the sum value. So we have the variables declared I, n and sum. Initially the sum value is equal to 0. So first enter the number of terms, print, it will take the number of terms. So suppose we want 5 natural numbers, 5 odd numbers, then we are giving 5 there. Then the odd numbers are, using this for loop, it will print all the odd numbers. So I is equal to n, I lesser or equal to n, it will print using this formula, it will print all the odd numbers, that is 2 into I minus 1. And then whatever it finds, it will add up all the odd numbers. So using this statement, sum is equal to sum plus 2 into I minus 1, we will get this value of all the odd numbers. So then it will print the sum of odd natural numbers up to n terms. So let's execute it. So enter the number of terms. Suppose we need 5 odd numbers. So odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. So then it will add up all these odd numbers. So the sum of odd natural numbers up to 5 terms are 25. Next, implement a C program to display a string in reverse order. So basically we have a string where we are going to reverse the string. So here we have declared char string 1 of size 100 and we have a temp variable and then length L, R and I. So L is for left hand side element, R is for right hand side element. So first print enter a string to reverse. So whatever string we need to reverse, that we are going to enter. So it will take a string. Then string length of str1 is assigned to len. So initially L is equal to 0 till R is equal to length minus 1. So here whatever string we have, suppose we have simply. So this will be 0. Here this index will be 0 and this will be length minus 1. So that's what here basically tells. Then for I is equal to L to I less than R, it will perform this statements. So whatever is there in string of 1 of I is given to temp. Then whatever is there in string of 1 of R is given to string of 1 of I. Then whatever is there in temp is assigned to string of 1 of R. Then decrement R minus minus. Then again it will go to I and increment I by 1. So from I is equal to L to R, it will perform all these operations and then reverse a string. So one by one it will put and reverse a string. So let's execute. Enter a string to reverse. Let's enter simply. And the reverse string is ILPMIS. I hope it's clear. The next question is implement a program to remove duplicates in a sorted array. So here we have a sorted array that is 10, 12, 30, 40 and 50. And as you can see, we also have a duplicate elements, that is we have 10 2 times, then we have 12, 40 repeated and also 55 duplicate number. So here this is a sorted array. So basically we are going to delete the duplicate elements. So for that we have a remove duplicate array function. So if n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1, then return n. So if the elements are 0 or the element is 1, just return those elements. Then declaring the temp variable, and this function is used for traversal. So the control will travel all the array elements. So it will check. So initially j is equal to 0. So for I is equal to 0 to I less than n minus 1, it checks whether a of I is not equal to the next element, a of I plus 1, then it will assign a of I to temp j plus plus, then again assign a of n minus 1 to temp j plus plus. Then modifying if there is any repeated, a of I is equal to 0 to I less than j, temp of I is assigned to year of I, and then return j. Coming to the main function, here we have the array elements, as I said, 10, 12, 30, 40 and 55, and also along with the duplicates. So n is assigned to size of a, so it will give the size of array divided by size of a of 0. The function array remove duplicate array is assigned to the variable n, and for I is equal to 0 to I less than n, it will print all the sorted array elements. So let's run it. As you can see, the elements were 10, 10. So here it's given one duplicate element is deleted. And here again 12, 30, 40 and 55 is given successfully. So the elements are deleted. And the last question is, implement a program to add a node at the beginning, end and specified position in any linked list. So here we have the node structure where we have data and also the variable next. So we have a function for insertion at beginning, insertion at end and insertion after a node. So first, starting with insertion at beginning, we are creating a new node and allocating memory to it using malloc function, and we are assigning a new data to a new node's data part, and new node's next is assigned to head. That means head is assigned to this because head is holding the address of the new node now. So head is equal to new. Void insertion at end. So basically here also we are creating a new node and allocating memory to it, and coming here we have a head is assigned to last node because we are going to insert at end. So head is assigned to last node. So new data we are assigning to new node's data part, and initially the new next is equal to null. Not initially because it's a last node, the node or the next new node's next will hold the null value. So if head is equal to null, then head is equal to new. While last node's next is not equal to null, then last is equal to last node's next, and last node next is equal to new. That means new we are assigning it to last node's next. Then coming to the insertion after node. So here we have previous node and new data. So if the previous node is equal to null, that means there are no nodes in a list. The given previous node cannot be null. Then creating a new node, allocating memory to it and assigning a new data, and to the next new nodes next we are assigning previous nodes next to the new node next, and new we are assigning to previous nodes next. Coming to the display function, checking while node is not equal to null, then print all the node data part, then assign nodes next to node. So coming to the main function, here we have head initially equal to null, and insert at end we are inserting 25 at the end, then at the beginning we are inserting 15, again at the beginning we are inserting 10, that means 10, 15 and 25, then at the end again 30, then insertion after node heads next 20, then it will print the linked list elements. So let's run it. So it has print in an order. So as you can see, the linked list are 10, 15, 20, 25 and 30.
So with this, we have come to the end of this session on the top 40 C programming question and answers. I hope this session was informative and interesting.
Today, we will be discussing Java interview questions. We all know that Java is one of the most sought programming languages in the current IT industry. There are multiple multi-million-dollar companies which are using Java till today. So this video is completely dedicated to help out the Java developers and the beginners in Java programming language to crack the most frequently asked Java interview questions. So without further ado, let's begin with our interview questions. At first, we will start with the beginner level interview questions. So in the beginner level interview questions, the first question we have is, what is JIT? So the answer for this question is, JIT is an abbreviation for Java In-Time Compiler. It increases efficiency of the interpreter by compiling the bytecode in the runtime. JIT, or Just-in-Time Compiler, compiles code to machine level directly for higher speeds of code execution. So basically, just-in-time compilation is a feature added to the interpreter of Java. So this involves conversion of the code directly to machine level during the compilation stage. This improvises the speed of execution of a Java program. Now, after the first question, the second question in the docket is, what is a class loader? Now let's discuss the answer for this particular question. So basically, class loader is the first file to load when you execute any Java program. So the Java class loader is the integrated part of Java virtual machine. So the functionality of class loader is to load the class to the Java virtual machine while it is demanded to execute a class. Java has Bootstrap extension and application type of class loaders. So the third question in the docket is, what are the memory allocations available in Java? So the answer for this particular question is, Java provides multiple types of memory allocations. But the 5 major types of memory allocations which are most frequently used are class memory, heap memory, stack memory, program counter memory, native method stack memory. So the next question in the list is, will the program run if I write static public void main? So basically we write public static void main, but in case, imagine if I write the program as static public void main, will the program execute properly? So the answer for this question is yes, because Java does not follow any specific rule for the order of specifiers you place in your program. So when you execute the program with such pattern in your specifiers, then the program will compile successfully. Also, it will run successfully. So the next question we have is, what is the default value stored in local variables? So in C programming language, when you declare a local variable or a global variable or any type of variable, then the first value which is stored inside that variable will be a garbage value, unless you initialize the variable with a personalized value. For example, if you declare a variable I equal to 0, then you are storing a value in that variable I, that is 0. If you just declare it as int I, then the value stored inside that I variable will be a garbage value. So similarly, when you declare some kind of local variable in Java, then what will be the default value stored inside it? So the answer for this question is neither the local variables or the global variables or any primitives or any object references do not have any kind of default value stored in them. So followed by the fifth question, we have the sixth question. So what would be the output of the following code segment is the sixth question. So this might happen sometimes. So basically what happens is your interviewer will throw a question at you which has a code segment. So all you need to do is decode that code in your mind and provide the output. So this would be the code that we will be dealing with. So you can see our question has two printf statements. The first one has 100 plus 100 plus a string which is Simplilearn. And in the second printf statement, we have a string that is e-learning company plus 100 plus 100. So what will be the output of these two printf statements? So the answer for this question is really simple. So we'll be having 200 Simplilearn as the first output and e-learning company 100 as the second output. Why? Let's check out the code segment once again. So when you see the code segment once again, so the first printf statement has 100 plus Simplilearn. So JVM here understands 100 as an integer value and the plus symbol as an addition operator here. So followed by the addition operator, we have another integer value. So what JVM does is it adds the two numbers 100 plus 100. So followed by that we have another plus symbol here. So followed by the plus symbol we have a string value. So here the JVM considers the plus symbol as a concatenating operator, but not as an addition operator. So that's why the first two numbers got added and the result was 200, and the next two values were concatenated. So it became as 200 Simplilearn. Similarly, in the second printf statement, the JVM encountered with a string value. So it considered the plus symbol as a concatenating operator. Similarly, it happened with the second plus symbol as well. So that's the reason we had e-learning 100 as the second output. Now followed by the sixth question, we have the seventh question. What is an association? So the answer for this question is, an association can be defined as a relationship that has no ownership over the other. So to understand this definition, we can consider a simple example. Consider a person associated with multiple banks. So consider person X who has got accounts in bank A, bank B and bank C. And similarly, a bank is associated with person X. That is, a bank A, bank B and bank C are associated with the person X, but no one has ownership over the other. A person X who is an account holder with all the three banks, that is A, B and C, does not possess any kind of ownership over the three banks. Similarly, banks A, B and C who has the customer, which is the person X, but the banks do not possess any kind of ownership over the customer. So the relationship between the person X and the banks ABC can be considered as an association. Now followed by the seventh question, we have the next question, that is the eighth question. Define copy constructor in Java. So the answer for this question is as follows. A copy constructor in Java is a constructor that initializes an object through another object of the same class. A copy constructor in Java is really helpful because when you want to copy a complex object that has several fields, or when we want to make a deep copy of an existing object, then the copy constructor is the one which will help you out in this situation. So followed by the eighth question, we have the ninth question. What is a marker interface? So the answer for this question is, an empty interface in Java is referred as a marker interface. Serializable and clonable are some of the popular examples of marker interface. So basically a marker interface is just another interface, but normally in interface we provide some signatures. So these signatures belong to particular methods. So in normal interface we just have method signatures, but not the complete implementation, or at least we'll be having some variables. But in a marker interface, we do not have any kind of data manipulating method signatures, any data members, nothing. They have special functionality unlike a normal interface. So followed by the ninth question, we have the 10th question. What is object cloning? I guess the word object cloning is completely self-explanatory. Yet the answer for this question is, it is an ability to recreate an object completely similar to the existing object. This process is known as object cloning in Java. Java provides a built-in function or method, that is the clone method, to clone an existing object, offering the same functionality that of the original object. So followed by the 10th question, we have our 11th question. Why is Java not completely object-oriented? So this question might be a little confusing, but it's true. Java is not completely object-oriented. But what's the reason? Yes, I'll explain you why Java is not completely object-oriented. So the answer for this question is, Java is not considered as 100% object-oriented programming language because of the data types it uses. It still makes use of 8 or more primitive data types, which are int, float, double, and few others. So this is the only reason why Java is not considered as completely 100% object-oriented programming language. So the next question is, define wrapper classes in Java. So the answer for this question is, In Java, when you declare primitive data types, that is the int, float, double, etc., then the wrapper classes are responsible for converting them into objects or reference types. Just as we discussed before, Java is not 100% object-oriented programming language just because of the primitive data types it uses. So when you include such primitive data types, then wrapper classes are the ones which convert them into objects or reference types for the ease of compilation and execution of programs without any issues. So followed by this question, we have the next question. Define singleton classes in Java. So the answer for this question is, in Java, when you make the constructor of a class as private, then the particular class can generate only one single object. This is the reason why such type of classes are called as singleton classes. So followed by that, we have our next question that says define package in Java. So if you use some of the popular IDEs, that is the integrated development enterprises such as IntelliJ or Eclipse, then you might be familiar with projects, packages, source files, and then the class file. So basically you create a project first, and inside the project you will be having your source folder, and then you will be creating your own package using the source folder, and inside the package you will create a class file, and inside the class file is where you write your Java program. So here the question is define package in Java. So the answer for this question is as follows. Package is a collective bundle of classes and interfaces along with necessary libraries and jar files. The use of packages helps in code reusability. So basically when you create a specific package, inside that package you will store all the class files that you will be using in your Java program. So not only class files, in case if you use any kind of connectors or any kind of jar files or any kind of dependencies for your Java program, you will include all those inside the package so that the requirements and the class files are bundled together, and this helps out in code reusability, making sure that the program files or the jar files or any dependencies are not juggling between one package to the other or one file to the other. So using a package is basically a good practice. So followed by this, we have our next question. Can you implement pointers in Java program? So if you remember C programming language, we had pointers there. So we use pointers to directly access the memory. So similarly, can you use pointers in a Java program? This is a little tricky question for beginners, but basically it's really simple. Now the answer for this question is no, because Java Virtual Machine personally takes care of memory management implicitly. So Java's major motto was to keep programming simple. So accessing memory directly through pointers is not a recommended action. So the answer is a big no, you cannot implement pointers in Java program. So followed by that, we have our next question. Differentiate between instance and local variables. So the answer for this question is really simple. Instance variables are declared inside a class and the scope is limited to only a specific object inside which an instance variable is created. So followed by the instance variable, we have the local variable. So the local variable can be anywhere inside a method or a specific block of code. Also, the scope is limited to the block of code where the variable, that is the local variable, is declared. Now followed by the 16th question, we have our next question. Explain Java string pool. So the answer for this question is a collection of strings in Java's heap memory is referred as Java's string pool. So for example, you wanted to create a new string. Consider your name. So your name might be some XYZ. So if you wanted to create XYZ string, then you provide that particular code to your JVM. So what does JVM do? It will not directly create that particular string. First, it will search for the XYZ string in your string pool. If that is already existing in your string pool, then it will provide a reference to that particular string. In case if XYZ is not there, then the JVM will create a new string, that is the XYZ string. So followed by this, we have our next question, that is, what is an exception? So the answer for this question is, an exception in Java is considered as an unexpected event that can disrupt the normal flow of the program. So for example, just consider that you are going to write a program for division operator. So after you finish your program, your evaluator might want to test your code to the extreme levels. So instead of providing a proper number, imagine that your evaluator is providing a wrong input, such as special symbols, sometimes 0 or any other sort of input. So if this kind of input is provided to your program, then your program might crash. So you can avoid this kind of crash by using exception handling. So basically you can use try and catch blocks. So you can embed your code inside the try block and say to your program that if any kind of wrong input such as special symbol or 0 is provided by the evaluator, then send a message saying wrong input or divide by 0 exception. So this kind of approach will provide an output, but this kind of approach will avoid your program from crashing. So this is how exceptions are handled in real time. So followed by this, we have our next question. What is final keyword in Java? So the answer for this question is, the term final is a predefined word in Java that is used while declaring values to variables. When a value is declared using the final keyword, then that particular value of that particular variable will remain constant throughout the execution of program. So sometimes if you include a normal variable and provide an operation on that particular variable, then the value of that particular variable will change after the execution of program. But when you declare the same variable using final keyword, then no number of operations or any kind of manipulations applied onto that variable will not change the value of that particular variable. So that's the speciality of final keyword in Java. So followed by that, we'll dive into the next question, that is, what happens when the main method is not declared as static? So the answer for this question is, when the main method is not declared as static, then the program may be compiled perfectly, but ends up with a serious ambiguity and throws a runtime error that says no such method error. So when you basically declare a main method, don't forget to specify the static keyword. So with this, we finish the beginners segment of questions. Followed by the beginners segment, we have the next segment, that is the intermediate level segment. So the first question in the intermediate level is, what is JDK, and mention the variants of JDK. So the answer for this question is, so JDK is basically an abbreviation for Java Development Kit. This is a combined package of JRE, that is the Java Runtime Environment, and developer tools used for designing Java applications and applets. Oracle has the following variants for Java Development Kit. So the first one is the JDK Standard Edition, which is normally used by beginners and intermediate developers. Next, after the JDK Standard Edition, we have the Java Development Kit for Enterprise. So this particular Enterprise Edition is used by professional Java developers for developing Java-based applications and frameworks. Now the last one is the Java Development Kit Micro Edition. Now followed by 21st question, we will dive into the next question that says, brief access specifiers and types of access specifiers in Java. So the answer for this question is as follows. Basically, access specifiers are predefined keywords used to help a Java virtual machine to understand the scope of a particular data member or data manipulating method within a class or outside the class. So in Java, we have 4 types of access specifiers. The first one is public access specifier. So when you declare a data member or a data manipulating method as public, then that particular data member or method can be accessible by any class or object throughout the package. Followed by that, we have the private access specifier. So unlike the public access specifier, when you provide the private access specifier, then the accessibility of that particular private data member or the data manipulating method will be provided to specific classes and specific objects only. And finally, we have the protected access specifier. So the protected access specifier is a bit more secure than the private access specifier. So the access for this particular protected data member or protected data manipulating method could be a little more difficult to access unless you are going to implement everything which is present in that particular package. So basically, if you are trying to access the protected data member or protected data manipulating method of a different package, then you need to first import the package into your existing package. So that's how the protected access specifier works practically. So finally, after the major 3 access specifiers, we have the default access specifier. So default access specifier will be provided by the Java virtual machine. So in case if you declare a variable or a data manipulating method without using any specific access specifiers that are public, private and protected, then JVM implicitly considers the default access specifier. So there is no much of a difference between the public access specifier and the default access specifier. Both have the same functionality and accessibility. So followed by this question, we enter into the next question, that is, can a constructor return a value? So the answer for this question is as follows: yes, a constructor can return a value. It basically returns the current instance of a class implicitly. You cannot make a constructor return a value explicitly, but automatically it returns the instance of a class. So the next question is, explain this keyword in Java. So in Java we do have a keyword which is called as this. So what does the keyword this mean in Java is the question. So the answer for this question is, the term this is a special keyword designated as a reference variable. So the term this keyword is used to refer to the current class properties like data manipulating method, instance, data member and constructors. So followed by the 24th question, we have our next question that says, explain super keyword in Java. So the answer for this question is as follows. The term super is a special keyword designated as a reference variable. So similar to this keyword, even super keyword acts as a reference variable. But the difference is super keyword is used to refer to the immediate parent class object. So followed by the 25th question, we have our next question, that is, explain method overloading in Java. So basically method overloading and method overriding etc. are the concepts of polymorphism. So now let's have a correct answer here. So the process of creating multiple method signatures using one method name is called as method overloading. So for example, consider that you wanted to include an addition operation in your program that performs addition operation. So the first method will be having the name add, and inside the method parameters you'll be having 2 integer types of parameters. Similarly, you wanted to perform another addition operation with the same name add. So here you will provide the method name completely same to the first method, but inside the parameters there is a difference. You are adding 3 parameters here. So when you pass the values to the add method, then which method to be overloaded? That's the confusion, right? So should I overload or should I execute the first add method or the second add method? So this completely depends on the number of parameters you pass. If you are passing 2 parameters, then the first method will be executed. If you are passing 3 parameters, then the second method will be executed. So this is how the method overloading happens in Java. So the process of method overloading can be achieved by using 2 different ways. The first way is to change the number of arguments. So that's what exactly I've discussed before. Now the second way is varying the return type of the method. So with this, let's enter into the next question. Can we overload a static method? So as discussed before, the values of the variables or data manipulating methods will not be changed when we have used the keyword static in front of it. So the question is, can we overload a static method? Now let's discuss the answer for this. The answer is no. Java does not support overloading of static method. The process would throw an error reading static method cannot be referenced. So followed by this, we have our next question. So the next question is, define late binding. The answer for this question is, binding is a process of unifying the method call with the method's code segment. Late binding happens when the method's code segment is unknown till the method is called during the runtime. So followed by this, we have our next question. Define dynamic method dispatch. So the answer is, the dynamic method dispatch is a process where the method call is executed during the runtime. The overridden method is called through a reference variable of superclass. So this process is called as runtime polymorphism. Now we have our next question. Why is delete function faster in linked list than an array? So basically, linked list and array are the Java collections, or in other words, it's also considered as data structure. So to answer this question, you need to understand the analogy of linked list and array. So basically, an array is a complete memory block of consecutive memory locations. So consider that your memory location starts from 100 and your array has 10 locations. So it's a complete reserved block of from 100, 101, 102 to 109. So you have 10 memory blocks. So in case if you wanted to add a number or delete a number, then you had to make changes to the complete memory block. But when you come into linked list, you have the memory blocks used from the memory heap. So basically what you do here is you basically connect the nodes through addresses. So in case if you wanted to eliminate a number, then what you do is just to manipulate the addresses. So the address of the consecutive node will be changed. So that's the only change what you make. So now this is the reason why the delete function or any kind of manipulation function is faster in linked list compared to array. So now let's have a brief answer on this. Delete function is faster in linked list as the user needs to make a minor update to the pointer value so that the node can point to the next successor in the list. Now followed by this, we have our next question. Give a briefing on the life cycle of a thread. So the life cycle of a thread includes 5 stages, which are as mentioned below. Newly born state, runnable state, that is it provides the JVM with a feedback that I'm ready to run now, followed by that the running stage where the thread is actually running, followed by that the block stage. So basically the thread will be blocked for some reasons, for some intermediate output or something, if the thread is waiting for an input from another source or something similar. So that's where the blocked state comes to existence. And finally the dead state. Once after everything is processed, the thread is eliminated by JVM. Now followed by this, we have our next question that says, explain the differences between the operators provided here. So the operators might look similar, but they are different. Now let's understand about these operators in a much better way through the answer. So the answer for this question is, although they look similar, but there's a huge difference between them. So the first operator, which looks like 2 greater than symbols, perform the operation of right shifting. So when you provide a binary number or binary value, then the bits will be shifted towards the right. And the second symbol or the second operator, which is having 3 greater than symbols, is used to shift out the 0 filled bits. So this is the functionality of these 2 operators. Now followed by that, let's have the 33rd question. Brief the life cycle of an applet. So the answer for this question is, the life cycle of an applet basically involves the following stages. The first stage is the initialization stage, next is the start stage, third is the stop stage, fourth is destroy, and finally we have paint. Now the next question is, why are generics used in Java? So the answer for this question is, compile time type safety is provided by using generics in Java. So this approach allows the users to catch unnecessary invalid inputs at the time of compilation. Generic methods and classes help programmers to specify a single method declaration, a set of related methods, or with a single class declaration, a set of related types. So followed by this, we have our next question. Explain externalizable interface. So the answer for this question is, the externalizable interface helps with the control over the process of serialization. The externalization interface incorporates read external and write external methods. So we have listened to a new term here, which is serialization. So what exactly is serialization? Serialization is a process of sending your Java code or Java project from one computer system to a different computer system. So basically, if you wanted to execute some kind of Java program from a different location, then you serialize this particular code to a different location where you actually want to execute, and this particular process of transferring your code is called as serialization. Now the next question is, explain daemon thread. So the answer for this question is, the daemon thread can be defined as a thread with least responsibility. The daemon thread is designed to run in a background during the process of garbage collection in Java. The setDaemon method is used to create the daemon thread in Java programming language. So we have our next question now. Explain the term enumeration in Java. So the answer for this question is, enumeration or enum is an interface in Java. Enum allows the sequential access of elements stored in a collection in Java. Now the next question is, why is Java considered as a dynamic programming language? So the answer for this question is, Java was designed to adapt to an evolving environment. Java programs include large amount of runtime information that is actually used to resolve access to the objects in real time. So this is the reason why Java is considered as dynamic programming language. Now followed by this, we have our next question. Can you run a code before executing the main method? So the answer for this question is, yes, we can execute any code even before the main method. We will be using the static block of code in the class when creating the objects at load time of the class. Any statements within the static block of the code will execute it once while loading the class, even before the creation of objects in the main method. Now the last question in the intermediate section is, how many times the finalize method is called? So the answer for this question is, the finalize method is called by the garbage collector. So for every object, the garbage collector calls the finalize method just for once. Now with this, let's enter the advanced segment of interview questions based on Java. So the first question in the advanced segment is, can the keywords this and super be used together? So the answer for this question is, no. This and super keywords should be used in the first statement in the class constructor. So the following code segment will give you a better idea. So you can see that we have used the keyword super and this in the class constructor. That is the first class constructor. Now this is how you can use super keyword and this keyword together in case if you wanted to use. So with this, let's continue with the next question in the advanced level. So the next question says, explain JSP page. So the answer for this question is, JSP is basically an abbreviation for Java Servlet page. So the Java Servlet page consists of two types of text. The first is the static data and the second one is Java Servlet page elements. Now the next question is, explain JDBC. So the answer is, JDBC is an abbreviation for Java Database Connector. JDBC is an abstract layer used to establish connectivity between any existing database and to a Java application. Next question is, explain the various directives of JSP. So the directives are instructions processed by JSP engine. After the JSP page is compiled into a servlet, directives are used to set page level instructions, insert data from external files, and specify custom tag libraries. Directives are defined between the following symbols. So these are the symbols that are used to specify the directives in a JSP page. The different types of directives are shown as below. There are three types of directives. They are include directive, page directive, and taglib directive. So include directive includes a file and merges the content of the file with the current page. The page directive is used to define specific attributes in the JSP page like error page and buffer. The taglib directory is used to declare a custom tag library which is used in the JSP page. Followed by that, we have the next question. What are observer and observable classes? So the answer for this question is objects that subclass the observable class maintain a list of observers. When an observable object is updated, it invokes the update method of each of the observers to notify the observers that it has changed its state. The observer interface is implemented by objects that observe observable objects. Might be a little confusing, but you need to read this answer once again. You can pause it and you can read this answer once again so that you can get a brief understanding of this. Followed by that, we have the next question. What is session management in Java? So the answer for this question is a session is essentially defined as the dynamic stage of a random conversation between the client and the server. The essential communication channel includes the string of responses and requests from both sides. Typically, the most popular way of implementing session management is the employment of a session ID in the communicative discourse of the client and the server. The next question is brief about Spring Framework. Spring Framework is basically the framework of frameworks. Now the answer for this question is Spring is essentially defined as the application framework and inversion of control container for Java. Basically, the chief purpose of Spring Framework is to create enterprise applications in Java. Also, it is especially useful to keep in mind that the central features of the Spring Framework are essentially conducive to any Java application. So the next question is explain JCA in Java. So the answer for this question is JCA is basically an abbreviation for Java Cryptography Architecture. So JCA provides a platform that gives architecture and APIs for encryption as well as decryption. JCA is used by the developer to combine the application with the security measure. It also helps in performing the third-party security rules. It uses the hash table, encryption message digest, etc. to implement the security. So the next question is explain JPA in Java. So the answer for this question is JPA stands as an abbreviation for Java Persistence API. The JPA is enabling us to create the persistence layer for desktop and web applications. JPA deals with the following: Java Persistence API, Query Language, Java Persistence Criteria API, Object Mapping Metadata, etc. So the last question in our list is explain the different authentications in Java servlets. So the answer for this question is authentication options available in servlets are as follows. The first one is basic authentication. So the basic authentication consists of username and password provided by the client to authenticate as the user. The second one is form-based authentication. In this particular type of authentication, the login form is made by the programmer by using HTML. Followed by that, we have the third type of authentication, that is digest authentication. Digest authentication is similar to basic authentication, but in this the passwords are encrypted using hash formula. This makes digest more secured. And lastly, we have the client certificate authentication. The client certificate authentication requires that each client accessing the resource has a certificate that it sends to authenticate itself. This requires SSL protocol.
Hello and welcome to Python Interview Questions. My name is Richard Kirschner with the Simplilearn team. That's www.simplilearn.com. Get certified, get ahead. Certainly the questions we're going to ask in here are very general with a few specifics towards data science, since that's the main direction that Python's going in. And you'd want to expand your questions for your interview depending on the domain that you're using the Python in specifically. Let's dive in and get started with some Python interview questions. Number 1, what is the difference between shallow copy and deep copy? And you can see with shallow copy we have object 1, which has child 1, child 2, child 3, and so on, and object 2, which has child 1, child 2, child 3. A deep copy creates a different object and populates it with the child objects of the original object. Therefore, changes in the original object is not reflected in the copy. Copy.deepCopy creates a deep copy. Shallow copy creates a different object and populates it with the references of the child objects within the original object. Therefore, changes in the original object is reflected in the copy. Copy.copy creates a shallow copy. And you can look at this. If we make a change to child 1, it's only a pointer. So if you make it in object 1 and a change to child 1 in object 1, it will also make that change in object 2. Number 2, how is multi-threading achieved in Python? Oh, this is a good one. With multiprocessing and multi-threading, this question is actually asking you, do you know the difference between multiprocessing and multi-threading and how multi-threading works? Multi-threading usually implies that multiple threads are executed concurrently. The Python global interpreter lock doesn't allow more than one thread to hold the Python interpreter at that particular point of time. So, multi-threading in Python is achieved through context switching. It's very different than multiprocessing, which actually opens up multiple processes across multiple threads. So, multi-threading. Discuss the Django architecture. So the Django architecture, and the first thing to know is that the Django is a web service, way to build your web pages basically. And so when you look at the architecture, you can see here we have a nice model drawn out where the user initiates the Django, which initiates the URL, which initiates the view, what they're going to view, and you have your model and your template. So the model of data, whatever data model you're pulling, goes into the template and then goes back up the pipeline to the user. And the important thing to note is there's a template, the front end of the web page. This is what they're going to see. There's a model, the back end where the data is stored. So you can keep the template and the looks and everything looks the same, but you can swap out the underlying information that goes into that template. Then you have your view, which interacts with the model and template and maps it to the URL, and then the Django serves the page to the user. So your Django grabs it and says, okay, thank you for the URL, and here you go, user. What advantage does NumPy array have over nested list? So NumPy is a module you import. Almost always see NumPy, import NumPy as NP. NumPy is written in C, such that all its complexities are backed into a simple to use module. Lists, on the other hand, are dynamically typed. Therefore, Python must check the data type of each element every time it uses it. This makes NumPy arrays much faster than lists. I would also add in that NumPy has a lot of additional functionality that you don't have in lists. So there's a lot of things you can automate in the NumPy. Quick flip over to our Jupyter notebook. Any IDE will work. If you're going to do a set of interview questions, taking a quick look at code is always important. We have our import NumPy as NP. We'll go ahead and import time. Here's our list sub for I in range of 100. And all we're doing is we're going to time it. So we're going to create a list. Then we're going to create a NumPy zeros array. And you can see here, look how quick you can create this NumPy zeros array. Here we are appending 1 0 at a time for a regular Python list, and here we are with NumPy. They're all zeros, and they're all of type integer. I believe it's either float or integer on this. I'd have to actually do a type on it. And then, so if we take in and we create a TL1 time equals time, and then we do for I in range of 100, for j in range of 100, L of I, j equals L of ij plus 5. So we're just doing a simple calculation on our array and subarrays. This is an array of arrays. And we'll do the same thing with TL2. TL2 time.time, TL1 equals, so here we have our final time on that. And then we'll do this with an array op, and this is what I really love, a equals a plus 10, and then you can just print it right out. So you can see right here with a NumPy array, we're doing the same thing. If I run this, our time is significantly different. Here we have 0.09 and 0.003. So you can see that the time drops significantly when you're running this on a NumPy array versus a list array. Also important to note, these times aren't going to be, they'll change each time I run it depending on what I have running in the background. So there we go. Number 5, what is pickling and unpickling? Amazes me how many times I pickle and unpickle something. Converting a Python object hierarchy to a byte stream is called pickling. Pickling is also referred to as serialization. Unpickling, converting a byte stream to a Python object hierarchy, is also called unpickling. Unpickling is also referred to as deserialization. So if you just created a neural network model, you can now save that model to your hard drive, pickle it, and then you can unpickle it to bring it back into another software program or to use at a later time. How is memory managed in Python? Number 6. Python has a private heap space where it stores all the objects. The Python memory manager manages various aspects of this heap like sharing, caching, segmentation, and allocation. The user has no control over the heap. Only the Python interpreter has the access. You have a nice little diagram here. Here's your program. There's your interpreter. We have our heap, memory management on the garbage collector going off of there. Number 7. Are arguments in Python passed by value or by reference? Arguments are passed in Python by reference. This means that any change made within a function is reflected on the original object. So you can see here def function of L of 0 equals 3, L equals 1, 2, 3, 4, function L, print L, and you're going to get 3, 2, 3, 4 because we've passed L in there, so it's a pointer. Here we have def function L equals 3, 2, 3, 4, L equals 1, 2, 3, 4, function of L, print L. Because in this function I have assigned, instead of operating on a piece of L, the list, I've assigned a whole new value to that list, or L. It then at that point will create a new object. So if I make changes to the object, it's going to change it in the outside the definition. If I use a variable and I assign it a completely new value, like L equals 3, 2, 3, 4, that will not show up when you're outside the function. Number 8. How would you generate random numbers in Python? To generate random numbers in Python, you must first import the random module. The random function generates a random float value between 0 and 1. The random range function generates a random number within a given range. And you can see here 1 is the lower end, 10 is the upper end, and step 2. So it would be 1, 3, 5, and so on as far as the options in the random generation. Number 9. What does the double forward slash operator do? In Python, the forward slash operator performs division and returns the quotient in float. For example, 5 over 2 returns 2.5. To do a double forward slash operator, on the other hand, returns the quotient in integer. For example, 5 double slash returns 2. 5 divided by 2 and you drop the 0.5. Number 10. What does the is operator do? The is operator compares the ID of the two objects. And you can see in here where list1 equals brackets around 1, 2, 3, list1 equals list2 equals true. And you have the double equals in Python, of course. And you can do list1 is list2, where list2 equals 1, 2, 3 is false. List2 is not the brackets 1, 2, 3. It equals it, but it's not the brackets. And if we do list3 equals list1, then list1 is list3 equals true. Number 11. What is the purpose of pass statement? The pass statement is used when there's a syntactic but not an operational requirement. For example, the program below prints a string ignoring the spaces. And so here we have variable equals Simplilearn. We've added 2 spaces in it. For I in variable, so it goes through each I. If I equals space, do nothing. Else, print I, and then we'll have the end equals bracket bracket, and they'll print out Simplilearn. Now, of course, you would probably write this if I does not equal blank space, print. But this would be another way you could do that if you need a placeholder for that first logical set or that first area. And you can also do a function like this. You could do function, whatever your def function name, brackets, colon, pass. So it goes into the function and does nothing, but it's a placeholder. Number 12. How will you check all the characters in a string are alphanumeric? Python has an inbuilt method, isAllNumber, which returns true if all characters in the string are alphanumeric. And so you can see here, ABCD, 1, 2, 3, isAllNumber, output equals true. And the second line, ABCD, the @ symbol, 1, 2, 3, the pound symbol, isAllNum, output equals false. So really you just want to know about isAllNum, all numerical, alphanumerical. Number 12. How will you check if all characters in a string are alphanumeric? So here we go. If you know isAllNumber, which returns that the characters in the string are alphanumeric, one can also use regex instead. And so we have Boolean RE match. What's important about this is to note your capital A dash to capital Z, A lowercase to dash to Z, 0 to 9 means that that array includes all of those, the way they have it written out, plus a $sign, and then we have what we're comparing it to, the string we're comparing to, the ABCD 1, 2, 3. And so we can do an RE.match, and if it matches, if all these things, if all the different entities in that array matches the first one, we get an output true, and if not, an output false. Number 13, how will you merge elements in a sequence? Sequence. There are 3 types of sequences in Python. There's lists, tuples, and strings. Python, of course, makes this easy. If we have a list 1 and list 2, and list 1 is square brackets 1, 2, 3, list 2 is 4, 5, and 6, we can simply do list 1 plus list 2, and our output is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we have tuples, your tuple is the curved brackets designates it, and again, just add them together. Same thing with strings. We have Simplilearn, S1 plus S2 equals Simplilearn. Number 14. How will you remove all leading whitespace in a string? Python provides the inbuilt function lstrip to remove all leading access from a string. And you can see here, space python dot lstrip, leading strip, Python. And you can also do strip, which relieves leading and ending. Of course, there's also the ending set. Number 15. How will you replace all occurrences of a substring with a new string? The replace function can be used with strings for replacing a substring with a given string. Syntax: string.replace old, new, count. Replace returns a new string without modifying the original string. Hey John, how are you, John? ? Replace John with capital JOHN 1. And then you can see right here, hey John, how are you? And since we designated with the 1, just says we're only going to replace one of these. 16. What is the difference between del and remove brackets on lists? Del for delete. Del removes all elements of a list within a given range. Syntax: del list start to end. Remove. Remove brackets removes the first occurrence of a particular character. Syntax: list remove element. And we see a nice example over here. If we delete the list 1 to 3, it will delete the first, in this case B 1, 2. It doesn't do 3, remember that. 1, 2, so it will delete B and C and you end up with a D. Where if we do remove B from the list and we have an A, B, B, D, it's only going to remove the first B. Number 17. How to display the contents of text file in reverse order. Open the file using the open function. Store the contents of the file into a list. Reverse the contents of the list. Run a for loop to iterate through the list. Number 18. Differential between append and extend. Append adds an element to the end of the list. You can see right here we have a list 1, 2, 3, 4, and we append 4, and we end up with an output 1, 2, 3, 4. And extend adds an element from an interval to the end of the list. And we have here list equals 1, 2, 3, list.extend 4, 5, 6. Output is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you want to append an array to the end of another array, you want to use the extend. Number 19. What's the output of the below code? Justify your answer. This is a great interview question because these are the kind of things that come up when you're proofing code. Def add to list, value, and list. So we have value in and a list in, or list equals an empty, in this case an empty list. List.append value, return list. List 1 equals add to list 1. List 2 equals add to list 1, 2, 3, empty bracket. List 3 equals add to list A. And then we want to print them. List 1 equals, and you can see the formatting. We have our placeholder, list 1, list 2, and list 3. So when it prints list 1, we get 1, comma A. And what you want to notice here is that list 1 and list 3 are equal. Why are they equal? Well, when we passed the information to the add to list, we passed value without passing the list equals brackets, without passing a second value. What this means is that list, as we have it, if you don't have a list, it'll start off with empty list, which we append the 1 to. The second one, list 2, we appended a value to an empty list. So it's only going to be 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter what the list was before, we've already assigned an empty list. And then list 3, here's the tricky one. We're adding a to the list, but because we didn't designate the list, list is a shared value. In other words, it doesn't reset it. And we end up with list 1 equals list 3, 1, a. Default list is created only once during the function and not during its call. Number 20. What is the difference between a list and a tuple? Lists are mutable while tuples are immutable. And you can see an example down here where I have list equals 1, 2, 3. Square brackets denote it's a list. List of 2 equals 4, and I print it out and I now have 1, 2, 4. If I do the same thing with the tuple, I get an error, because you can't change the tuple 1, 2, 3 into 1, 2, 4. You have to completely reassign tuple to a new value. What is docstring in Python? Docstrings are used in providing documentation to various Python modules, classes, functions, and methods. And so you can see here we have def for our function add AB, and this is a docstring. We have the triple brackets on there. You can add carriage return in that so that you can go multiple lines. And it says this function adds 2 numbers. And then sum AB returns sum. And so we have down here 2 different ways of accessing this function. Output, accessing docstring method 1, this function adds 2 numbers. Accessing docstring method 2, help on function add in model main. This function adds 2 numbers. And so you can see the code down here has 2 very different end values. The second one is basically a help menu. There's our help menu. Number 22, how do you use print without the new line? The solution to this depends on the Python version you are using. In Python version 2, you can do print hi and then you add a comma afterwards. Print how are you? And you have hi, how are you? In version 3, print hi, comma, end equals, and it'll add a space on the end there. You can put different characters in there, but generally you just want to put a space on the end. Print how are you, and now we get hi, how are you? Number 23, how do you use the split function in Python? The split function splits a string into a number of strings based on a specific delimiter. So we have string, split, delimiter, comma, max, the maximum number of splits. The character based on which the string is to split by default is space. So here we have an example. We have a variable red, blue, green, orange, and we want to split it by commas, and we only want to do the first 2. So if we print the list now, you'll find it has red, blue. It only split it the first 2 times, and then it gets to the third one and just groups them all together, green and orange. If you leave the 2 off, it'll split the whole thing. Number 24, is Python object-oriented or functional programming? Python follows object-oriented paradigm, and you should really know in depth what they mean by object-oriented paradigm if you're doing any interview for scripting languages. Python allows the creation of objects and its manipulation through specific methods. It supports most of the features of OOPS, which has inheritance on a polymorphism. So you have an object and you can inherit all the traits of that object and then add new traits in or alter some of those traits. That's what object-oriented means. Python follows functional programming paradigm. Functions may be used as first class object. Python supports lambda functions, which are characteristic of functional paradigm. So you can set a variable to a function as opposed to setting it to an object. Number 25. Write a function prototype that takes variable number of arguments. Here we have def function name list. So we could have, in this case, whatever the list is, def function. The asterisk denotes that we're going to take multiple arguments of a variable, and then we can do for I in var, print I. So if you send function of 1, you'll end up with a function 1, 2, 5, 6. It'll actually print those out one at a time. The first one just prints out a 1 because it only sent one variable. The second one will print 1, another line 25, another line 6. Number 26. What is asterisk args and asterisk quargs? Args used in function prototype to accept varying number of arguments. It's an iterable object, def function args. And you can imagine it's just a basic list. So if I add the numbers a comma b or a comma b comma c, it doesn't really matter. It will have that number of objects in it, whatever I send to it. And there's other uses for it, but that's very basic. Quargs I can actually tell it what I want to send. So using a function prototype to accept varying number of keyworded arguments. Both are iterable objects, so you can go through them one at a time. And the def function chords, you can now set like color equals red, units equal 2. So you'll see that, especially in machine learning, there's a lot of like they'll have inline equals true, that kind of thing. Number 27. In Python, functions are first class objects. What do you understand from this? This means I could return a function. It could be one from another function. I could create a function and treat it just like an object. I can assign it to a variable. I can pass them as arguments to other functions. Number 28. What is the output of print name __ name? Justify your answer. The double underscore name double underscore is a special variable that holds the name of the current module. Program execution starts from main or a code with 0 indentation. Thus, double underscore name double underscore name has a value double underscore main double underscore in the above case. If the file is imported from another module, then double underscore name underscore double underscore holds the name of this module. Number 29. What is a numpy array? And we briefly touched numpy array compared to a list earlier in processing speed. Now let's go ahead and look at some of the more specifics. A numpy array is a grid of values, all of the same type. So if they're either all float, all integer, all string, and is indexed by a tuple of non-negative integers. The number of dimensions is the rank of the array. And the shape of an array is a tuple of integers giving the size of the array along each dimension. Number 30. What is the difference between matrices and arrays? A matrix comes from linear algebra and is a two-dimensional representation of data. It comes with a powerful set of mathematical operations that allow you to manipulate the data in interesting ways. Now, an array is a sequence of objects of similar data type. An array within another array forms a matrix. Like we said here, two-dimensional, so if you have an array of 3 by 4, that would be a matrix. Number 31, how to get indexes of n maximum values in a numpy array. Of course, the first thing to do is to import your numpy as np. You don't necessarily have to use np, but that is the most standard use of numpy. We create our array equals an np.array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if we want to get our indexes of n maximum values in a numpy array, we can do, one way to do it is to take our array, sort it, then do -n colon. That means we're going to do, once you've sorted it, you can do -n. N would equal then the number of indices, so it's not the actual letter n, colon. And really this is about understanding this notation, that we can sort it, so it goes from lowest to biggest, and then we can get the top values for n indexes. And then we have our final set of brackets with the -1 on there. Number 32. How would you obtain the resulting set from the train set and the test set from below? And let's go ahead and look at the two different variables. We have train set equals an array of 1, 2, 3. Test set equals a numpy array of arrays. We have 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. What's important here is that, one, it's a numpy, so that leaves A out, and then we're stuck with 3 other options, and I'm going to say D is out, none of these. And let's look at np.concatenate versus np.vstack. Concatenate would put one set after the other, so you would end up with, probably give you an error, because one set is 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to concatenate array 0, 1, 2 and array 1, 2, 3, the array of arrays onto the end of that. What we really want to do is stack, and by the way, you can actually switch, there's variables you can put into concatenate obviously that can change this, so you could use the concatenate with a lot of fudging around. But really what we're looking for is VStack. V stands for vertical versus the H stack, which is horizontal, and if we do a VStack we can simply do train set comma test set and stack them together. And so we have C, resulting set equals np.vstack train stack test set. Both option A and B would do horizontal stacking, but we would like to have the vertical stacking. Option C does this. Again, you could add the axes in and use the concatenate to stack it the correct way. Number 33. how would you import a decision tree classifier in sklearn? We have sklearn.decisiontree import decision tree classifier from sklearn ensemble import decision tree classifier. And we look at these and they're all import decision tree classifier. That actually last part happens to be correct, and it's really just a vocabulary knowing where is the decision tree classifier stored, what module is that a part of, and it is of course part of the sklearn.tree. Number C. Number 34. You have uploaded the dataset in CSV format on Google Spreadsheet and shared it publicly. How can you access this in Python? What's important here is to know that we can read stuff with pandas. So we don't show it here, but you can. There's actually a number of ways to do this. What's important here is to know a couple things. One, we have our link generated from the Google Docs and spreadsheets, and then we can do a stringio request get link content. So there's our source. And then finally, we know that pandas can read a CSV. There's obviously many ways to read a CSV, but data equals pd.read_CSV source. Number 35. What is the difference between the two data series given below? Below we have df name and df location, colon, comma, brackets around, asterisks around name, comma, where. And then we have df equals pd data frame, AABBXXUU, comma, 21, 16, 50, 33, columns equal name and age. So let's take a look and see what they're looking at. We have, just glancing at the questions, they want to know, is it the original data frame or is it the copy of the data frame? And you can see here that 1 is view of the original data frame and 2 is a copy of the original data frame. 2 is a view of the original data frame and 1 is a copy of the original data frame. Both are copies, both are views. And if you're working with pandas, you know that unless you specifically on certain things tell it to do it inline, and a lot of functions don't allow you, that you're always taking a slice and it is always a copy. So C, both are copies of the original data frame. Number 36, you get the following error while trying to read a file, temp.csv using pandas. Which of the following could correct it? So here's our error. Trace back most recent call last, file input, line 1 in module, Unicode encode error. ASCII codecs can't encode character. Ooh, I hate it when that one comes up. And we have 4 different entries. We'll go ahead and just pretend that D doesn't exist unless we really can't fit it into one of the other answers. And the first one is PD read CSV has our file compression equals gzip. Well, gzip is just an unzipping and you actually get a zip error on there. The second one is dialect equals string. Again, not an encoding or coding setup. And then we have encoding equals UTF-8. Well, that would be the encoding error, switching it from the character code. There's UTF-8, there is Unicode. That's the most common two that it goes between. So really this is about understanding the difference between a UTF-8 coding and a Unicode and the error that comes up quite regularly with that. Number C, encoding should be UTF-8. Number 37, how to set a line width in a plot given below. So looking at this, we have import matplotlib, pyplot as PLT, and you should know your way around this, how to do a plot in there. PLT.plot 1, 2, 3, 4, plot equals show. And so this is a little bit of a vocabulary test. The vocabulary is at width equals 3, line width equals 3, LW equals 3, or something else. And the vocabulary word that we're looking for is LW equals 3, which stands for line width in pyplot library, pyplot. Number 38, how would you reset the index of a data frame to a given list? So this is a vocabulary challenge in understanding what reindexing is. Reindexing, as we have the different values here, we have the first one, which is reset the index. Well, we're not really resetting the index. Reindex number B means we are double checking our indexes to the column and to the main index, and so the values match correctly. Where reindex like now brings in a new index outside of our data frame to a given list. So this is coming from external, and thus the vocabulary word like is our key word, that it's external, and we have a data frame to a given list. Number 39, how can you copy objects in Python? The functions used to copy objects in Python, we have copy for shallow copying and copy deep copying for deep copy. Number 40, what is the difference between range and xrange functions in Python? Well, this is a good one. We have matrices and arrays. With a matrix, the range returns a Python list object. Xrange returns an xrange object. And with arrays, an xRange returns an xRange object. xRange creates values as you need them through yielding. The key here is that xRange returns the values as you need them. So it actually processes it post, like if you have for x or for a variable in xRange, it is processing them as you need them, 0 to 9. It doesn't create an array 0 to 9, it just hands you 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 at a time. Number 41, how can you check whether a pandas data frame is empty or not? The attribute df.empty is used to check whether a pandas data frame is empty or not. And so you can simply create we have down here import our pandas as PD. We create our pandas data frame equal to an empty array, and is df.empty comes out as true. One of the catches you got to remember with these vocabularies is with empty along with some other pandas setup, whether you need the brackets or not at the end. Number 42. Write the code to sort an array in NumPy by the n-1th column. This can be achieved using argsort function. Let us take an array x, then to sort the n-1th column, the code will be x to colon n-2.args_sort. So let's see what that code looks like. We import NumPy as np. We'll create our array, our NumPy array, which is 1, 2, 3, 0, 5, 2, 2, 3, 4. So we have 3 different entities with 3 different columns in there. And we go x of x, and so we take x of all the rows, first entity, or in this case it's actually the second one because it's 0, 1, 2, .argsort. So that would be the second entity, or -2 would also be the same. You could also do, instead of 1, you could also do -2 there instead of the 1. Argsort, and then we get an output of the array 1, 2, 3, 0, 5, 2, 2, 3, 4. Number 43, how to create a series from a list, NumPy array, and dictionary. So we'll go ahead and import our NumPy, our pandas, and have my list. And you can see here we have my list equals list of A, B, C, D, E, F, G all the way through. So my list now makes a list of that. For array, we have np.arange to 26. My dictionary will create a dictionary with zip my list, my arguments. So I'll just use the NumPy array we just created with my array to go into the dictionary. And the solution is simple with the pd.series my list, pd.series my array, pd.series my dictionary. So it's all about knowing the dot, capital S-E-R-I-E-S. Don't forget that capitalization. Number 44. How to get the items not common to both Series A and Series B. And you can see here we have, instead of Series A and B, we have Series 1 and 2, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The solution is we take a panda series, we have a series U equals a panda series, NP union 1 dimension, series 1, series 2. So we can now make a union of them. We now have series 1 panda series with an intersection, and then we can remove one from the other. Series U is series U dot is in series 1. So if the union is not in the intersection, then you know it's a unique value. A little bit of logic going on there and playing with 3 different terms to get the answer we want. 45. How to keep only the top 2 most frequent values as it is and replace everything else as other in a series. So again, we're working with pandas, because if you're talking series and data frames, that means we're working with pandas. So we're going to import pandas as PD. We'll go ahead and create our pandas series. We're going to do that by creating a NumPy random state 100, so 100 in the NumPy one. And then we have our panda series. You can see here we're random integer, NumPy random.random integer 1, 5 by 12. And so the solution for this is we go ahead and we've created a PD dot, remember the capital S series solution. We're going to print the top 2 frequencies, and that is our series dot value counts. And then we take series values count dot index of up to 2. So we're going to take everything up to 2. And then we'll do the series is in. So if it's not in the first 2, then it's going to equal other. And this would be something you'd want to write down on paper. If it looks confusing, take a moment, pause the video, write this down, and see if you can figure out how the logic came together and try to throw yourself a couple other little logic puzzles like this. Number 46. How to find the positions of numbers that are multiples of 3 from a series. And in here we're actually going to use a NumPy to solve it. The first part, series, lets you know it's going to be a panda series. And if we come down here, we have np.argwhere, so this is a vocabulary question, series with, remember the percentile 3 is the remainder, so if the remainder equals 0, then we're going to generate that string where the object divided by 3 equals 0 has no remainder, so then we know it's a multiple of 3. Number 47, how to compute the Euclidean distance between two series. And this one's really cool because we have our Panda series, P and Q. And what I like about this one is they give us two solutions you can go with. And really you should kind of know both. The first one would be, yes, you know what the Euclidean distance is. And that is we can take the first series minus the second series squared. And then sum them up, and then we do the square root, which is the same as taking the power to 0.5. Doing the power to 0.5 is easier than doing the square root. So a lot of times you'll see that as a switch, but you could have also done the square root and used the math in there. So there's solution 1, you should know your Euclidean distance. And then solution 2 is the NumPy solution. So we have np.linalg.norm. That's how we're going to compute our Euclidean distance. P minus Q. Very elegant and very straightforward and easy to compute. Number 48, how to reverse the rows of data frame. So here we have our data frame. We're going to create a NumPy array by 25, reshape it 5 minus 1. And this creates a 25 by 25 data frame. And so our solution is to do the df iLocation. And this is just understanding how steps work. The steps, you have your colon, minus 1. So we're taking all the rows, all the columns, minus 1. So we're stepping minus 1 going the reverse direction. And then we're just going to use across all the different columns on there. Let me say that again. The first colon is going to be your rows. Starting row, stopping row, step minus 1. That's all this is about, is that step minus 1, comma, and then all the columns. 49. If you split your data into train test splits, is it possible to overfit your model? And the answer is yes, is definitely possible. One common beginner mistake is retuning a model or training new models with different parameters after seeing its performance on the test set. My favorite example of this is you have your script put together and you keep hitting the rerun button until you get the answer you want, not taking the answer it first gave you, or running it over an array and recording all the answers to see how they vary. Number 50, which Python library is built on top of Matplot library and Pandas to ease data plotting? The answer to this is Seaborn. Seaborn is a data visualization library in Python that provides a high-level interface for drawing statistical information informative graphs.
And with that, we have come to an end of this session on coding interview preparation. Thank you so much for all the training experts. It was a pleasure having you on board. Back to the viewers. In case if you have any queries regarding any of the topics covered in this session, or if you require the resources like PPT, code demonstrated, or the datasets, then do let us know in the comment section below, and our team of experts will be more than happy to resolve all your queries at the earliest. Until next time, thank you, stay safe, and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.